Spain just won the World Cup, but several players are already furious with FIFA. After releasing its team of the tournament, FIFA left out stars like Pau Cubarsí, Unai Simón, and Lamine Yamal. But the biggest shock was not the snubs. It was how the final team was actually chosen. Here's what's happening. Spain beat Argentina 1-0 in extra time to win the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It happened at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, the same tournament hosted across the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And it capped a run where Spain didn't lose a single match. The final was played at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, part of the New York metropolitan area, on July 19, 2026, and was contested by Spain and defending champions Argentina. The goal came late, really late. After Argentina went down to 10 men late in regulation due to an Enzo Fernandez red card. Nico Williams put the ball on a tee for Ferran Torres with an incredible backward header, and Torres, who hadn't scored yet in the tournament, buried home the World Cup winner in the 106th minute. Extra time, 10 men, a backheel assist. That's how Spain claimed a second star on the badge. But the story of this Spain team wasn't really about that one goal. It was about what happened at the other end of the pitch for 8 straight matches. Across 8 matches, La Roja scored 14 goals and conceded only 1. The Charles de Ketelaere strike in the quarterfinal against Belgium. 1 goal in an entire World Cup. Against 47 other national teams grinding for the same trophy. Spain's backline let in a single shot that actually found the net. That defensive record wasn't an accident, and it wasn't built by one player. It was Unai Simón behind everyone, and it was a center-back pairing in front of him that barely put a foot wrong across 2 months of football. Unai Simón kept 7 clean sheets, the meanest defensive record of any champion in modern World Cup history. 7 clean sheets in a World Cup final tournament. That's not a hot streak, that's a whole campaign. And in front of him, at the heart of that defense, was a teenager who didn't miss a single minute. Pau Cubarsí started the tournament as one of Barcelona's rising names, and finished it as one of the players everyone was talking about. Barcelona defender Pau Cubarsí was one of the stars of World Cup 2026. The defender was part of a Spanish backline that conceded just once on their way to being crowned world champions. Cubarsí also won the Young Player of the Tournament award, and played every single minute of every single match for Luis de la Fuente's side. Every minute of every match. That's the kind of trust a manager doesn't hand out lightly, and Cubarsí paid it back. Then there was the kid up front who was already a household name before the tournament even started. Lamine Yamal turned 19 during the World Cup and left as a champion, and his numbers back up why Spain leaned on him so heavily in the final third. Lamine Yamal completed the most dribbles at this tournament, 35. He was followed by France's Kylian Mbappé, 28, Argentina's Lionel Messi, 25, Brazil's Vinicius Jr., 23, and Belgium's Jeremy Doku, 21. More take-ons than Mbappé, more than Messi, more than anyone else on the planet who is still playing football that summer. So that's the setup: a goalkeeper with the best save numbers in the tournament, a teenage center-back who played every single minute and conceded almost nothing, a forward outrunning Messi and Mbappé in the dribble charts, 3 Spain players, 3 standout campaigns, 1 trophy at the end of it. Then FIFA put out its team of the tournament, the Dream XI, picked through a fan vote on FIFA's own platform. And Cubarsí wasn't even on the ballot. However, all of that was not enough to impress FIFA. The game's governing body is currently running a vote to decide the Dream XI of World Cup 2026, and Cubarsí is not an option. Not left off after losing a vote, left off the list of names people were even allowed to vote for. Unai Simón was on the ballot at least. But when the final 11 came out, his name wasn't on it either. And the goalkeeper spot went somewhere nobody was expecting. The most surprising inclusion was Cape Verdean goalkeeper Vozinha, Josimar Diaz, 40, who garnered nearly 40% of the votes, surpassing the official Golden Glove winner, Unai Simón. And Yamal, the record-breaking, Messi and Mbappé out-dribbling teenager, didn't make the final cut either. Harry Kane, Lamine Yamal, and Laporte were also left out. 3 Spain players, 3 campaigns that helped win the whole tournament. 3 names missing from the list that was supposed to celebrate exactly that. To understand why this stung the way it did, you have to understand what actually happened with that vote. Because this wasn't a case of fans simply preferring somebody else. This was FIFA making a decision before a single supporter ever clicked a name. The process worked like this. FIFA ran its Dream XI selection through its FIFA Plus platform, letting the public choose the 11 best players of the tournament from a preset list of nominees. On Wednesday, FIFA announced its 2026 World Cup Dream XI, a lineup selected by fans worldwide through the FIFA Plus Play Zone platform in partnership with Aramco. Fans picked from a shortlist. They didn't build the shortlist, FIFA did. And when that shortlist for defenders went public, Cubarsi's name simply wasn't printed on it. The defenders whose supporters are able to choose for their dream teams are Lisandro Martinez, Nuno Mendes, Marc Cucurella, Virgil van Dijk, Gabriel Magalhaes, Cristiano Romero. A list of legitimately good center-backs and full-backs, sure, but a list that skipped over the guy who just played every single minute of a World Cup win while conceding almost nothing. It wasn't just Cubarsi either. His partner at the back, the veteran holding down the other side of that defense, got the same treatment. Spain stars Pau Cubarsi and Aymeric Laporte were bizarrely left out of the vote, despite being central to La Roja's win, and it's still not clear why. Both center-backs, both frozen out of the nomination stage. Not beaten in a vote, never given the chance to be voted for. Once the final Xi came out, the gap became even harder to explain away. He has shockingly been left out of the XI, as has Aymeric Laporte, who was his partner at the back. Instead, France's Dayot Upamecano and Argentina's Lisandro Martinez feature as the center-backs in FIFA's best Xi. Two center-backs from teams that didn't win the tournament, standing in the spots that belonged, by any statistical measure, to the pairing that conceded 1 goal in 8 games. Coverage across the football press zeroed in on exactly that contradiction. While both players did have strong performances, there is really no excuse for excluding the duo that kept 7 clean sheets in 8 games. 7 clean sheets, 8 games. That's not a marginal call between two similar players. That's a numbers gap you can see from space. And Cubarsi's individual case only made it look worse because FIFA itself had already handed him hardware for that exact tournament. What makes the situation even more incomprehensible is the fact that Cubarsi's strong performances were on FIFA's notice, and the player was even awarded the Best Young Player award after the final. The same governing body that gave him a trophy for being the best teenager on the planet at the World Cup, then left him off the ballot for its own showcase team days later. Fans across Spain didn't let it slide quietly. FIFA have sparked a wave of fierce criticism in Spain after leaving central defensive duo Aymeric Laporte and Pau Cubarsi off the voting list for the best team at the 2026 World Cup, despite their pivotal role in leading Spain to their second title at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The world governing body unveiled the list of nominees for the public vote on its official website, and it was completely devoid of Laporte and Cubarsi. Many called the decision illogical and contradictory. That phrase, illogical and contradictory, kept circulating because it captured exactly what people were reacting to. Not a close vote, a missing name. Journalists covering the story kept landing on the same blunt question. What were they thinking? It's the kind of line that shows up when a decision doesn't have an obvious football explanation attached to it, and nobody at FIFA offered one. The scale of it becomes even clearer when you put it next to history. Spain has won multiple World Cups now, and back in 2010 when they lifted their first one, the sport's governing body actually recognized how deep that Spanish generation ran. In 2010, 5 Spaniards, Ramos, Puyol, Capdevila, Busquets, and Villa, were included in South Africa's World Cup Dream XI. 5 players from the champions in the team of the tournament for a title-winning Spain side. 16 years later, Spain won again, with a defense that was statistically better than that 2010 group. And the count didn't come close. The lineup, arranged in a 4-3-3 formation, features Spain and France as the most represented teams, each contributing 3 players, despite Spain claiming victory in the tournament. Yet fan voting acknowledged only 3 Spanish players, Pedro Porro, Marc Cucurella, and Rodri Hernandez, who was named MVP of the tournament and awarded the Golden Ball. 3 names tied with a France side that didn't even make the final. One of Spain's own champions coverage teams put it plainly. It's noteworthy that a team that won the whole thing ended up matched spot for spot by a team that went home in the semifinals. It's noteworthy that Spain, despite winning the championship, has the same number of representatives as France, which exited in the semifinals. That's the shape of the anger, not Spain deserved every slot. Just a World Cup winning backline got fewer names on the list than it got clean sheets. Unai Simon's situation is its own separate headache because unlike Cubarsi, he wasn't shut out of the nomination stage. He made the ballot, he just lost to a goalkeeper from a team that didn't win the tournament, in a vote that had nothing to do with clean sheets or saves. Start with what Simon actually did across the summer, because the numbers are hard to argue with. Unai Simon, he won the Golden Glove award and recorded the highest save percentage. His proactive style also helped Spain maintain an effective high defensive line. The Golden Glove is FIFA's own award for the tournament's best goalkeeper. Simon won it outright. His numbers match the trophy too. 7 clean sheets across the tournament, the best defensive record any champion has produced in the modern era of the competition. Already covered, and all of it happening behind a backline that Simon himself helped organize with how high and aggressive it played. That's not one great night, that's a goalkeeper who is the best at his job, according to the people who run the sport for 2 straight months. And then the fan vote for the Dream XI rolled around, and the goalkeeper spot went somewhere nobody predicted. The name that topped the ballot wasn't the Golden Glove winner. It was the keeper from Cape Verde, a team that had never even qualified for a World Cup before this one, let alone gone deep into it. The most surprising inclusion was Cape Verdean goalkeeper Vozinha Josimir Dias, 40, who garnered nearly 40% of the votes, surpassing the official Golden Glove winner, Unai Simon. To be clear about what that means, Cape Verde's run was genuinely one of the best stories of the tournament. Nobody's arguing the team didn't earn its moment. The rank outsiders were the darlings of the tournament and didn't lose a game over 90 minutes. The Blue Sharks held Spain to 0-0 draw and took Argentina to extra time in a classic round of 32 tie. That's a legitimately great tournament for a team nobody expected anything from. But a fan favorite story and the tournament's actual best goalkeeper, by FIFA's own award standards, ended up being 2 different things, and the vote picked the story over the stat sheet. That's the exact mechanism that hurt Spain across this whole exercise. It wasn't a jury of experts weighing clean sheets and save percentages. It was an open online poll, and open online polls reward the moments people remember scrolling past on their phones, not the 90 minutes of quiet, disciplined defending that actually won a final. Simon's tournament was built on the second thing. The vote rewarded the first. So you end up with a strange split. FIFA's own statisticians and award panel looked at the numbers and handed Simon the Golden Glove outright. FIFA's own fan vote, running at the same time on the same platform, picked somebody else entirely for the ceremonial Best Eye slot. 2 different processes inside the same organization, reaching 2 different conclusions about the same position in the same tournament. For a goalkeeper who just backstopped a World Cup-winning defense that conceded 1 goal in 8 matches, watching a fan poll hand his spot to someone else, regardless of how good that someone else's story was, landed as one more piece of a pattern. QBRC never got a ballot slot at all. Simon got one and still watched the trophy line skip past him. Different mechanisms, same outcome. A name that helped win the World Cup, missing from the list that was supposed to honor exactly that. If QBRC's exclusion was about a rigged ballot, and Simon's was about a fan vote quirk, Yamal's absence is the one that made casual football fans stop scrolling entirely. Because on paper, this was one of the standout individual tournaments by anybody, on any team, at the entire World Cup. Start with the raw dribbling number again, because it's worth sitting with. Lamine Yamal completed the most dribbles at this tournament, 35. He was followed by France's Kylian Mbappé, 28, Argentina's Lionel Messi, 25, Brazil's Vinicius Jr., 23, and Belgium's Jeremy Doku, 21. That's not a stat you get from being useful. That's a stat you get from being the single hardest player in the entire tournament to take the ball off of. Harder than Mbappé, harder than Messi, harder than Vinicius. And he did it as a teenager in his first senior World Cup on the biggest stage the sport has. Lamine Yamal, at 19 years and 6 days, became the joint 4th youngest player to win the World Cup. 19 years old, a World Cup winner. Top of the dribbling charts, above 2 of the greatest players of this generation. FIFA itself recognized that individual brilliance separately from the team of the tournament vote. Yamal picked up his own individual honor for the tournament, distinct from the Dream XI process entirely, which only makes the eventual snub odder. He'd already been singled out by the sport's governing body as one of the standout young talents of the whole event. And then, when the final 11 for the Dream XI came out, his name simply wasn't on it. He wasn't alone in that. The list of players who topped individual charts, won individual honors, or were central to their team's run, but still missed the final Dream XI kept growing once people started comparing notes. Harry Kane, Lamine Yamal, and Laporte were also left out. Kane, one of the most prolific strikers of his generation, still producing at a World Cup on the biggest stage. Yamal, the dribbling leader of the entire tournament. Laporte, half of the best defensive partnership in the competition. All 3 off the final list. Put those names against who actually made the cut, and the picture crystallizes. Spain provided 3 of the names in FIFA's official Best Eye of the 2026 World Cup, having lifted the trophy with a final win over Argentina. Among those names, Spain's young center-back Pau Cubarsí and his veteran compatriot Aymeric Laporte are both missing from the 2026 World Cup team of the tournament. Even outlets writing up the final Zai kept circling back to the same 2 or 3 names as the ones that didn't add up. One write-up summed up the broader problem with the defensive picks specifically, and it's worth repeating because it captures the whole tension of this story in a single line. Leaving out Cubarsí in particular comes as a surprise. The defender is only 19 and won the Best Young Player award at the World Cup. 19 years old, award in hand from the same organization running the vote, left off the final list anyway. Across social media and fan forums in Spain, the reaction wasn't quiet. Barcelona's fanbase in particular, the club that produced both Cubarsí and Yamal, treated the snub as a direct shot at 2 of their own academy products winning the sport's biggest trophy and getting nothing to show for it beyond the medal itself. Spanish sports outlets ran headline after headline built around disbelief, and the framing rarely changed. A champion team, a stacked individual campaign, and a list that didn't reflect either. None of the 3 players named in this story, Cubarsí, Simon, or Yamal, needed to release a statement for the frustration to be visible. It showed up in what didn't happen: no posts celebrating a nomination. No acknowledgement from FIFA's own channels explaining the nomination process for the defenders. Just 3 players who delivered peak performances at the exact moment their sport was watching hardest, watching a list get published without them on it. None of this stopped the party. 2 days after the final whistle, Spain's squad flew home to a welcome that had nothing to do with any fan-voted 11. Madrid's Spain's World Cup-winning soccer team returned home on Monday, and an estimated crowd of almost 2 million was on hand to greet the squad through the streets of Madrid. 2 million people in the streets. That's the kind of number that makes a fan poll on an app feel very small by comparison. The squad went through the full itinerary that comes with winning the biggest trophy in the sport. The 26 players and their coaching staff met with the country's royals, and then with Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. After arriving in the Spanish capital a day after beating Argentina 1-0 in the final in New Jersey. Royals, the Prime Minister, a capital city that shut down to watch them go by. Cubarsí, Simon, and Yamal were in the middle of every bit of it, medals around their necks, alongside the teammates who probably didn't need FIFA's ballot design explained to them either. Sanchez's own remarks to the squad captured the mood better than any vote result could. "Thank you to the coaches and players for the style of play, the effort, and the victory," Sanchez said. "We have truly enjoyed watching you play." That's the version of recognition that actually reached the players directly, not a nomination list. A prime minister standing in front of them, thanking them for exactly the football that a fan poll somehow managed to overlook in 3 specific cases. The football press, for its part, kept the pressure on FIFA rather than on the players, because there wasn't really another way to read the numbers. Commentary after the Dream XI dropped kept landing in the same place. A champion side that conceded 1 goal across the whole tournament produced the Golden Glove winner, the best young player, and one of the standout attacking talents of the decade, and still walked away tied with a semi-finalist for total representation. Cubarsí was named Best Young Player of the tournament by FIFA and concluded with a 98.3% pass accuracy, being the only under-20 player to play all championship minutes. His exclusion from the ideal 11 reflects not fan choice, but a prior organizational decision. Not fan choice, organizational decision. That's the detail that kept the story alive well past the parade. The sense that this wasn't a case of the public simply preferring somebody else, but of the shortlist itself being built without 2 of Spain's best players ever having a chance. Grading pieces on the tournament as a whole didn't spare FIFA's operational choices either, treating the vote as its own separate storyline running alongside the football. Stephen A. lauds Spain after outclassing Argentina to win World Cup. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is over. Spain are world champions for a second time. Kylian Mbappé has won another Golden Boot, and Lionel Messi cemented his status as the GOAT. Even though Argentina failed to win back-to-back titles, Spain's title sat right alongside Mbappe's Golden Boot and Messi's final chapter as the tournament's headline stories. And the Dream XI oversight sat there too, an asterisk that kept getting mentioned in the same breath as the celebration. Cubarsí, for his part, has time on his side that most players in this story don't. 19 years old, a World Cup winner. A Best Young Player trophy already on the shelf, and if the pattern from Euro 2024 through this World Cup says anything, very likely a fixture in Spain's defense for the next decade. With Yamal and Cubarsí both still teenagers, this Spain side looks built to stay at the top for years to come. There will be other tournaments, other votes, other chances for FIFA's ballot design to get it right. He's not running out of time to be recognized properly. He just wasn't recognized this time on this particular list for this particular trophy. Simon doesn't have quite as long a runway, but he leaves this tournament with the one piece of hardware that a fan poll can't touch. The Golden Glove is decided by football people looking at football numbers, saves, clean sheets, shot stopping under pressure. And Simon won it outright. A viral vote for a feel-good story elsewhere doesn't erase what the people actually charged with judging goalkeeping performance concluded when they handed him that trophy. And Yamal, the teenager who out-dribbled Messi and Mbappe across an entire World Cup, who's already being talked about as the face of the sport for the next 15 years, has a resume at 19 that most players don't build across an entire career. A missing slot on one fan-voted list, announced days after he'd already lifted the trophy itself, isn't likely to be the headline anybody remembers about this summer once enough time passes. What's left in the end is a strange kind of imbalance that the numbers make impossible to fully explain away. A team that conceded once in 8 matches. A goalkeeper who won the award for exactly that. A center-back who played every single minute and got named the tournament's best young talent. A forward who left Messi and Mbappe behind him in the one stat that measures who's hardest to stop. And a list put together by the same organization that handed out those individual honors, that somehow found room for only 3 names from the side that actually won the whole thing. Spain has the trophy, Cubarsí has his medal and his individual award, Simon has the Golden Glove. Yamal has a World Cup winner's medal at 19 years old and a highlight reel that'll outlast any ballot. The Dream XI will get updated, revoted, and argued about for years the way these lists always are. The trophy itself doesn't get an asterisk. It just sits in Madrid next to the one from 2010, waiting for whatever comes next. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content. Spain crashed out at 2022 World Cup, won Euro 2024, kicked off 2026 as favorites ESPN. 2026 FIFA World Cup Final Wikipedia. The Spanish champions in stats FIFA. Spain is the 2026 World Cup champion, defeating Argentina for its second title, NPR. Spain's World Cup champions return home for parade in front of almost 2 million NPR. List of FIFA Men's World Cup winners, NBC New York. Grading the 2026 World Cup from Spain's A to Infantino's F, ESPN. FIFA leave Pau Cubarsí out of vote for World Cup 2026 Dream XI, Yahoo Sports. FIFA leave Pau Cubarsí out of vote for World Cup 2026 Dream XI, Barca Blaugranes. 3 Spain stars feature as FIFA reveal World Cup Dream XI, Barca Blaugranes. FIFA unveils 2026 World Cup All-Star Team, Cuba headlines. Barcelona defender inexplicably left out of the 2026 FIFA World Cup Best XI, Barca Universal. 2 Spanish stars left out of the Best XI, Golcom Saudi Arabia. The ideal lineup for the 2026 World Cup revealed, Golcom Malaysia. Spain World Cup Squad 2026, champion.